Beauty in the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's Beauty in the Biz podcast is with it's an interview with Dr. Marco Pelosi III. Now, he's one of the most well-known cosmetic gynecologists in the world and specializes in cosmetic vaginal surgery, pelvic reconstructive surgery, as well as whole body aesthetic surgery. Now, Dr. Pelosi is co-founder of the ISCG, which is the largest cosmetic gyn society in the world, and is founder and host of the Top Cosmetic Gynecologist podcast. He's in private practice with his father, Dr. Marco Pelosi II, also a cosmetic gynecologist and aesthetic surgeon in a suburb near New Jersey. So both surgeons are pioneers, speakers, and teachers in the world of cosmetic gynecology and aesthetic surgery. So Dr. Pelosi, it's a pleasure to have you on Beauty in the Biz.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. We're actually located in Bayonne, New Jersey. So if you were on Wall Street and you made a beeline for the Statue of Liberty and made a hard left, you wind up at my office.
That's so funny because I Googled Bayonne and it seemed, I said, okay, so what's it near? Like Jersey City. And then I was getting all confused, and that's why I just went with the suburb of New Jersey. Yeah.
Sure. It goes Newark Airport, Bayonne, Hoboken, Wall Street.
Gotcha. Okay. So the burning question I'm sure everyone is wondering is, there's a Dr. Marco Pelosi II and the third, and is there a pending fourth? Is he already here? What's happening?
Dr. Pelosi IV is going to stay Mr. Pelosi IV. He is in college right now at Coastal Carolina, studying finance and marketing, and his plan is to be in the financial world.
Good for him. And then, so is your goal to keep this going? Is he going to be very much required to have a Mark Pelosi V?
Well, at the pace that he's going, we don't want to be grandparents just yet. So we've told them to put the brakes on things and just enjoy the college experience.
All right. That soon to be determined, or maybe not, maybe later to be
Correct.
determined. All right. Then The next big burning question is all about Hurricane Ida. While I was researching you, I'm out in California and I don't watch the news anymore for lots of reasons, but I realized, oh my gosh, you guys had 12 inches of rain in a very short amount of time. So how are you faring with that?
Well, luckily, I live on a golf course, and it's landscaped in a way that the water flows past us. But we're out in Hunterdon County, where there's a lot of farms and little old country roads, little bridges that are very scenic. Those are all gone. So there was a lot of flooding. There were a lot of people who were, texting, driving, and oops, I'm in 3 feet of water. One of my nurses, she lost her car. She's in the city. She's closer to Bayonne, and she drove into like 3 feet of water. And we joked because she's like just under 5 feet tall. And I said, you're lucky because you'd be the first one to drown. And her husband came to get her in a brand new BMW, 1 day old, and he lost his car. It got totaled. So that was a disaster. If I showed you the Facebook pages of our local friends of how much devastation this little storm caused, it's shocking. It's mind-boggling. And luckily, it didn't kill the infrastructure on the major highways. The electricity wasn't out in as many places as in past storms. So all in all, it could have been a lot worse. And, it could have been a lot better. But I think everybody is recovered enough that it was just like a bad couple of days.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And I know out here in California, we're having, once again, the wildfires that we apparently never know are coming, but they happen every year and they're so out of control. And I don't know what's going on in the world. So we should probably talk faster, before the doom hits.
Yeah, before we get flooded or we go on fire.
Yeah. So let's talk about just a quick story about your journey. How did you get from medical school into practice with your father?
All right. Well, the family biz was OBGYN for many years. And my father made himself famous in the 1980s with the laparoscopic surgery, endoscopic surgery, where the surgery was done through tiny incisions. And what happened is that I went into the family biz in medicine and in residency. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In medical school, I first of all, I wasn't even sure I wanted to be a doctor. So I took a year off to go travel around and figure things out. And so then I said, okay, I think I want to be a doctor. And so I just went into medical school, a wide open field. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to go into, but it was in the back of my mind that I could just step into an established gynae OBGYN practice that was large. And in the 1980s, you could call regular medicine profitable and a great place to practice. So I got into my clinical rotations third year and fourth year. And I was a guy that always liked to operate. I was very proactive, aggressive, big mouth, so I was always getting into people's faces and they liked the, when I was in the OR, I could chat up the storm. And so I became very friendly with all the general surgeons, and everybody was trying to recruit me to go into plastics and into colorectal and into oncology. And even the gynae guys thought I was just going to automatically just step into there. So after a few more rotations, I decided, okay, I'm going to go into OB-GYN. And I applied to a bunch of programs. I wanted to be in a city, so I matched at the New York downtown, which was a branch of NYU. It's right down on Wall Street, down by the fish market, by the seaport. So great place to be. And great. We were the highest paid residents in the country. So I always tell my friends, I'm pulling it down just as a resident. And when I finished training, I was very good at endoscopy, laparoscopy, because I was working with my father's friends on weekends. I would just fly somewhere and he would just fund everything. I'd go to the Mayo Clinic, I'd go to the Cleveland Clinic, you name it. I met everybody who was a big cheese. And so I was already getting known as the next Pelosi laparoscopic endoscopic surgeon. And I was in the doctor's lounge every day at the hospital, watching these guys who were my age now, the 50-something, and they were bitching and moaning. They said, oh, every year the malpractice insurance goes up. Oh, every year the reimbursement goes down. And it was still good. But I saw the writing on the wall and I said, I don't want to be that guy when I'm 50, bitching and moaning that they're not happy with their career. And I like surgery. I always liked aesthetics and plastics. It was just that at that time, there weren't many opportunities outside of the core. So if you didn't come out of the core, and there was no internet to search, there was no Google, it was very hard to find that kind of training. But luckily, I found Jeff Klein. He had just written a book. And he's that dermatologist from Southern California that came out with tumescent liposuction. So I hunted him down through the phone book directory. Remember that stuff? Yeah. Yellow pages. And I got into his course. And I brought my father, and we looked at tumescent local anesthesia, and we looked at the liposuction, and we said, derms are doing this. We're surgical. We should be doing this. And so we rounded up some friends and family, and we did a little bit of lipo on them. We went back and we worked with Klein some more. And little by little, we started doing liposuction. And from that point, we started meeting people at meetings. We'd go to a gynae meeting and they'd bring me a friend who was plastic and a friend who was a derm, friend who was facial plastic. And we speak Spanish because I was born in South America. So we flew down to South America and we trained with tons of plastics and tons of surgeons that normally nobody in the States has access to. So I had a lot of training that most people haven't had that opportunity to have. And we brought it back. And we got our hospital privileges. We documented our training, and we set up a surgery center in our office. And we do cases here now for the past 20 years. Everything, head to toes. We're well known for the cosmetic gynae because we pretty much pushed the specialty into the forefront. But we still do a lot of body contouring, liposuction, tummy tucks, all of the work that normally everybody does when they're in the field of plastic aesthetic work. And we're really packed right now during the pandemic because everybody switched gears. People who said in the past, I'm going to wait for the right time to do this, Now is that time in their mind. They have the ability to work from home. They have the ability to just use, the virtual side of their business and say, I'm going virtual this month. And that's when they do their thing. They're not traveling as much, so they have a little more cash. And they're getting paid. They're getting a lot of stimulus from the government. So that's going on. We've got the crypto boom. I don't know if you've been into crypto, but crypto is making a lot of money for a lot of people. And they're usually younger people, because the older people, they don't even know how to work an email, but these young people are making a killing. And I talked to my son who's in college and his friends, all the finance kids, they're just crushing it in these new markets. So that's what I'm doing. That's where I am right now. And that's how we're really having a great season here. And we hope it just keeps going.
So what's it like working with your father? I have watched several practices. Partnerships are tough enough, but family, it can be even tougher. So what are the pros and cons of that?
All right, imagine that there's like 3 camps. Okay, one camp is family the way you grew up, and you have that sort of relationship. Then you have the professional relationship, father and son, like going fishing together, like doing something together. That doesn't happen too much. In the beginning, we did. When we first started working together, we started trying to feel each other out. Like, he's like, "Is my son any good?" Or I'm sitting here, "Is my old man crazy?" So we figured each other out. And then I have my own clinical side, and he has his own clinical side, where we see the same flow of patients coming in. The demographic of the patients is identical, but we each run our own show. And every once in a while, on a big case, let's say we're doing something that has a left side and a right side, and they're both really big, we'll work together and speed it up. But more often than not, I work with a surgical tech, and he works with a surgical tech on any of the major cases. And that allows one of the guys in the practice to be doing the consults and the follow-ups, while the other one is using the operating room, because we run a 1 OR setup.
And then how do you divvy up the skill sets of business, marketing, managing staff? How did you figure all that out? Because not everyone's good at all of those things. And I would assume you want to use your strengths. So how's that?
Well, we graduated both. We both matriculated in the University of Hard Knocks, and we figured it out. And initially, when you run a medical practice and you bill through insurance for medical indications, it's pretty set how you run that. You have a coding person, and whatever you do gets coded and submitted, and there's this whole rigmarole of processes and delays. And that runs automatic. We have been running that style of program since the 1990s, where the medical insurance and the coding became a big deal. For the aesthetic side, we run it differently, because it's a completely different specialty. It has nothing to do with insurance companies. So we hired an MBA. We have an MBA office manager who just knows how to run business. So we pretty much tell her what we're trying to achieve, and then we go back and forth, and we bang out how that can be achieved in a streamlined fashion that makes sense financially and managerially. That's something that we just learned, and you learn it by talking to people. You learn it by you taking like MBA stuff and applying it to aesthetics, which is not always as easy as it sounds, because MBAs in general don't have a subspecialty of any type. They just go into the market and they figure out what their focus is, and so you sort of have to just work it and tune it and tailor it as you go along. And there are best practices now more than ever. There's access to resources online, so it's pretty easy to find resources. Sometimes that's a double-edged sword, because you got so many choices, you don't know which choice is the best choice. So you're kind of overloaded with stuff. But we have financial people that we trust. We have other professionals that we trust. We have people like you who just provide information and resources that help us along the way.
Well, I do have an MBA, and I have brought my MBA skills to the plastic surgery world, mostly kicking and screaming, because most surgeons would rather be in the OR than talk about the business side of surgery. So yeah, so there's a room there for everybody. So is it a dictatorship or is it a partnership? Like, does your dad get to call? What happens when you don't agree on something? Do you just not do it? Or?
Oh, no. We figure it out. No, it's not a dictatorship. In the beginning, you have a guy who's running a practice for 30 years and he hires a new hire who doesn't know anything about the business. You can't expect to have parity at that level. That would be insane. That would be like, a rookie pilot saying, we're going to fly this way. And the old man is going to tell you he can't do that and he'll list you 100 reasons. So when we got into aesthetics, I think it was a different scenario because we were both getting in at the same time, fresh.
Gotcha.
We each basically were starting at the same baseline. He had the old fox wisdom of just working a medical practice. I was more a sponge for the technology side. And now I've become even more into marketing. I've taken courses. So for the last, I would say 10 years, he has deferred all of that stuff to me. So when I say we should have a marketing plan that does this, he's like, run with it.
Go for it. Yeah.
When I tell him we should reframe our marketing strategies to do this, and that, he just says, run with it. And when we work with marketing people, I've been in their field, in their world for so long that, I understand their language and they understand what I'm saying. So we sort of, we can speak the same language. You obviously know more, but when you explain it to me, you don't have to tell me what, a KPI is. And I can tell you, okay, let's just talk about what your strategy is.
It is so helpful for surgeons to at least know the basics of marketing and business. So at least, when you're talking to an expert, supposedly, they know what they're talking about. I hate to go into a conversation completely blind, not understanding anything and hoping to God I'm talking to an expert that really has my best interests at heart. So nothing easy about that. Let's talk about staff for a second, because one thing I've noticed when there are two surgeons in a practice, sometimes if there's not the one big leader, they have a tendency to pick the surgeon they like the best, or they'll go over your head and go to the other surgeon. Do you have any of that happening with staff, or any tips on managing staff?
Yeah, I would say, every staff has a different personality style. Some people are good at just following, and they follow perfectly. Like soldier, they tell them to do something and they do it exactly. Other people are problem solvers, and they see the problem, they see where you are, they see where you're trying to go, and they improvise. And it's good to have both types of people, because if you have somebody that just follows everything you say, your process is never going to improve because you're not tweaking it, you're not seeing it from a different perspective. Whereas if you're looking at it and the person is like a problem solver, they might say, I've watched you do this. I've watched your father do this. I've watched him do what you do. I've watched you do what he does. And when you guys do this, it always comes out smoother. So we sort of tweaked our styles based on the commentary of somebody that gets to watch both of us independently. Some staff are, they have obligations that are unpredictable. Somebody's got the screaming little kid that gets sick. That's where they're going to be when the little screaming kid gets sick. So when we have certain people at certain times of day in certain positions, we already know that that's a possibility. So we have a backup person. So we have sort of like a sliding kind of job descriptions. So everybody does their basic job, but they can shift into an additional role that might be necessary when somebody, it just isn't available to do their function.
Just what a great idea. You have the backup plan. I'm going to do a talk on contingency. There needs to always to be a contingency plan. If all goes to hell, what's planned? Right. You might as well plan for it because it's going to happen.
Yeah, you don't ever want to be, whatever process you have, to have a single point of failure, because that's always a bad idea. If you ask an engineer, they build a bridge, you can't have a single point of failure. You have to have a backup if a piece fails.
For sure. So let's switch over to marketing, your new favorite topic.
Yes.
You have such an interesting way of you're specialized, and I love that, especially in marketing. When I talk about like external marketing, you need to get known for something rather than be the jack of all trades to everybody offering everything. So I love that you specialize. Has that worked in your favor to get your name out there, or do you feel like it pigeonholes you?
No. It's gotten me huge marketing power, because if you take the marketing credo, which is just to focus your marketing and dominate a small segment, they say that the blue ocean strategy: pick an area where there's nobody there, and just become the big fish in that little area. With the internet, you'll be able to attract tons of people from everywhere. When you're in an area where it's the red ocean and you have all the sharks feeding, the only way to stand out there is to once again create your niche. So we create our niche in cosmetic gynae with a very broad net. So my patients that come in for cosmetic gynae are flying into my office. And the ones that are coming in for body work, lipo and tummy tucks and such, are driving to my office. But they're all looking for something unique. For the cosmetic gynae, it's the limited supply of specialists. And for the body work, it's first of all, it's the good work as shown on our social media, and the fact that we have the ability to speak Spanish fluently, which attracts a large clientele in our particular area, which has a lot of Latino patients. And the way that the Latino market works is, if you have one Latino client, they bring you lots of them, because they love to do things in groups. They have to bring you to their favorite restaurant, bring you to their favorite hairdresser, bring you to their favorite store, and bring you to their favorite cosmetic surgeon. So once you hook up with those kinds of clients in the Latino market, you're in a good place, and they're loyal. They're very loyal. So if you treat them right, they keep coming.
I've seen that over and over. You get one Hispanic woman, and next thing you know, you've got her sister, her mom, her cousin, her aunt. They're amazing. Yeah, there's very good word of mouth referral sources. So when it comes to, I noticed you got a brand new website. It's lovely, by the way. It's gorgeous. And I want to commend you on something you're doing very, very well that I hardly ever see. And that's your photo gallery and your videos. You've gone to great lengths to get that photo gallery. You've got lots of photos. They're all consistent with the same background, with the same stance, the same lighting. How did you do that? What kind of processes? You have to have some processes to make that happen. Can you just explain that? Because social proof is everything in our world. And I don't think enough energy or focus is put on what are you showing people online. And your Instagram is excellent, and your photos are just excellent.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you like. Yeah, we put a lot of attention on featuring things with a solid background. Mm-hmm. It's either going to be a blue background, or it's going to be like a beige off-white background. So all that you see in the before and after is the change of the work. When I first started, I called my photographer, the guy that shot my wedding, and I brought him in here, and I said, listen, I want to take pictures of the human body and the face, realistic photos, nothing artistic. I just want to reproduce what the eye sees. And I just want to have a setup that I can put the patient right there and just bang out the pictures. And he said, no problem. I will set you up. I will get all the equipment, and you just pay for it. And I'll use my professional discounts. I said, great. So he set up the whole rig for us. And I shoot with a tripod. I shoot with a studio flash right behind the camera. And we have a little spot painted on the floor. And it's as simple as that. And so we just snap and shoot, and we just keep turning the patients. And then we roll with that. For the videos, we bought professional video lights and just inexpensive high-def video cameras, and we have a ton of them all over the place. So when you come into our facility, the first thing people say is like, you guys look like you're videographers and the photographers. And we said, well, we're in a visual business, and that should be front and center, part of the equipment that you get. And relative to what you spend on a laser, it's just less than the tax on a laser. It's dirt cheap. It's easy to do. And I wanted to get really good with the videos. So I just went online and took a little online course on how to use Premiere Pro, which is video editing software. It's what the standard is for pretty much all the video experts. And anybody who's smart enough to get through med school is easily able to get through one of these little online courses, and in a short amount of time just figure out the basics of video editing to do what they need to do. And it's not elaborate. I'm not using any 3D stunts. I don't use doubles. I don't have like aliens landing in the operating room. I just want to reproduce a little snip of what we're doing and be able to just share that all over the place. And we also invested heavily in sound equipment because nothing is worse than a video with bad sound. And when I started doing podcasts, I got really into quality audio, because I realized that the difference between a good video and a bad video is usually the audio. You can get by with like lousy image if the light is off a little bit, but if you can't understand what they're saying, you tune right out.
So true. So when it comes to getting the photos taken, I hear it over and over and over. I can't get the patient to come back for their after photos, but I say to them, it has to become part of protocol, just like surgical protocol. You have to have a protocol to get that patient from A to Z, and the Z part is get them back for those photos. Any tips there on how you're making that happen?
Well, for the out-of-town patients, sometimes that's not possible. I've had patients fly in from Europe, from Asia, and they're not going to come back on an airplane for 15 hours just to snap a picture. So for those people, I just tell them, set up your phone. And I've made a few instructional little videos, cartoony ones, to show them what I want you to do. And some of the most basic recommendation I tell them is take your cell phone, put it on video mode, prop it against a coffee cup, stand about 5 feet away, and do a slow 360, real slow. And I'll just do some screenshots off of that. And just make sure that you're in a blank background, like a solid colored background. So that's the easiest way to do that. And they can just email it to you or Dropbox it to you. And I don't know if you're familiar with Dropbox, but they have a thing within the Dropbox where you can send out a link. And even if the person doesn't have Dropbox, they can, using the link, they can upload any video and you'll receive it into your folder. So I use that a lot. So they don't have to worry about the file's not too big or whatever. And it's totally encrypted. So for people that are worried about HIPAA compliance, it's totally compliant because it has the right level of encryption.
Right. I even love, because I look at everyone's Instagram accounts, I love when the patient sends in their photo, even with hair and makeup and clothes on, and just saying, I am just loving my new look. And they just tell their story about the journey, what it was like before, what happened during the journey, how I feel now. And then if you can do a screenshot where you show their before photo and then their after in real life, I think that those are very compelling. So.
Yeah, that's the finished product. It's because people don't walk around in toss away underwear, in the real world. You just want to see that person looks great with clothes on. I wonder what they do, and that's really the whole point of it is to look good in the wild, in the natural environment.
I completely agree. So let's talk about marketing. In your practice, I would assume, how much of your practice is still insurance-based versus cash?
It's like a hobby for me. It's really vestigial. So I would say I see on a regular day, I see 30 patients.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the way we've organized our schedule is in the mornings, I normally operate from 10 a.m. till just after lunch, which is like 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. From 2 o'clock on, I do consultations. And I'll do some gynae. I'll do like maybe 10 gynaes, and the rest is going to be either consultations or Botox and fillers. And then that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Wednesday, Friday is full OR days. Today is full OR day. My father is doing a case right now. And so when I'm not in the operating room on these big days, I'm either doing consults or I'm working on the practice. I'm not actually doctoring. I'm working on marketing. I'm working on lead retrievals. And we run two companies. I run a teaching company as well.
I'm going to
So I'm running that company as well. So right now we're setting up an annual meeting. So I'm just calling all the companies. I'm trying to get these guys roped in. I'm calling in some big names to attract more companies. So I have basically 2 jobs, and so we do all of that in 24 hours, 5 days a week, and sometimes we have to squish it in on the weekend a little bit.
All right, so let's get back to the marketing, because you're doing something to be that busy. I would assume the reason I asked about the OBGYN side is are any of those patients coming over to the fun side of medicine? And so I would
all the time.
Right. Your internal marketing would work beautifully for you. Yeah.
Yeah. All the time. We have old school marketing. We have posters on the wall. I mean, you can't walk past our building and not know that we do full blast everything. And once you're in there, you're surrounded by people with all kinds of, little waists, big butts, all kinds of, there's all kinds of stuff going on that you just realize instantly that these people are in the aesthetic field. And so it's always top of mind for a lot of our clients coming in just for the gynae. So much so that we never mention it, that they bring it up, because we really feel that, we shouldn't be pushing anybody. They come in for a reason, and if it's not the reason, we're not pushing him. Just like we don't push somebody with, coming in for lipo to go get an annual checkup. It's not what they're there for.
Okay. And so would you say most of your marketing is internal at this point, or are you still doing a lot of external? I know you just invested in a new website. What's working for you?
Instagram is working perfectly. So we've gotten tons of leads from Instagram. But when I bring a patient in, even if they know us from Instagram, I'll say, "How did you hear about us?" And it's 99% of the time, they know somebody that we worked on, or they, their hairdresser had some work done, or she was at the hair salon and she saw this lady that looked great, and she asked her, what's your secret? And they were referred, but they check online to make sure that you're real. Because if you're not online, you're not real. You're just a rumor. So Instagram has worked perfectly. Facebook works pretty well, but it tends to be an older clientele. So I would say that my younger ones are Instagram all the way. And when you get to like the middle-aged ones, the ones that have kids, they do a little more Facebook and a little less Instagram. So those are more Facebook. There's a bunch that are on neither. We don't do any print marketing. We don't do any television. We don't do any radio, because we feel that for our market, everybody's on their cell phone. So we're doing basically social media channels. And during the pandemic, I started to feed YouTube, and I think we're going to go back to YouTube, but just as a repository of everything that we put out there, because it's a huge search engine, and it's so easy to do, and you can just keyword the titles, and it just shows right up. So it really has a lot of potential there, and it's just a no-brainer.
Well, especially with the content you're showing, some of the gynae kind of stuff, the cosmetic gynecology, on your website, it'll say you have to go to YouTube to watch it due to the age restrictions. And I highly recommend you keep building up your YouTube channel. YouTube is the second largest search engine. And to your point about how are people finding out about you digitally, I swear it happens all the time. A friend mentions you to a friend. They go to your Instagram account. They go to your social to see who are you. Then they go to your website. It happens that way a lot more often now than the other way around, because SEO, it's very difficult to be the first page ranked on the search engines. It's very difficult if you're in a competitive area. So a lot of the surgeons get lost in their website when they should be looking at the other things that point to their website. Just an easier way to do it. Anyway, I know you have a lot of out of town. You're speaking Spanish. How much all of that has to be helping. I love the out of town thing because, well, number one, it's hard to get the SEO for that nowadays because they want you to be so geo-specific, but it raises your credibility so much when you have patients flying in from all over, and it's quite apparent on your website that that's happening. And then for the Spanish, you don't make a huge big deal out of it, but you definitely say Spanish. Is there some reason your website's not bilingual? You know how nowadays you can Google transcribe it and make it Spanish?
No, we just haven't gotten around to it. But now that you put it out there, you give me one more thing to do this weekend.
Sorry.
So,
well, I mean,
I'll just make, every page, I could just redo every other page and just make it in Spanish. Because all you do on Google is just put copy page, you put in Google Translate, and it's done.
Yeah, I think it's gotten really simple to do that. Same thing with podcasting. All of this has gotten so simple to do. I say to my staff all the time, do not ask me anything until you have Googled it or gone to YouTube first, because that's where everything you need to know are in those two places. So let's talk about where things are heading. Where do you feel things are going in our industry, aesthetic surgery, and how are you preparing for it? And that's where I want you to talk about your other business side.
Sure. Well, I think that the past 16 months or so has pushed all the clientele to be comfortable with virtual. And they have realized that they can get 99% of what they wanted to achieve in a consultation without ever stepping foot in the office. So I think that the next level of skills that need to be developed for a successful practice are the virtual engagement. And you can look at it as the world's most efficient way to screen through patients without having to burden your staff and your work hours. Because when I drive to work, I'm either listening to music or listening to a podcast, maybe even one of your podcasts.
Thank you.
And so that's basically, it's free time because I have to do it. I can't be at the office working. But if I can use some of that time to engage with leads, I can screen through them very effectively. And I can tell the patient, who might want to be coming in from another town, I can help you or I can't help you. Or we need to do something different than what you came in with. And so when they do come to the office, I'm getting the best patients. I've already primed them. And they're already in process. So we already have this momentum going in. And so the quality of rate is much higher with virtual screening built in. And the patients know how to do it now, which was the crucial step. I had to learn it too, but we did it. And we all learned it, Zoom in with our families all weekend long when we were all locked down, and everybody's comfortable with it. And we don't even use Zoom when we do the virtual. Most of the time, it's just a phone call, and they're texting me pictures, and I'm just telling them what I think. And at the end of that, I dictate a note with my phone, and I just email it off to my secretary, and we work from there, and we process them in if it's going forward.
I really think that is so true. I love virtual. If I don't have to leave the house or where I'm at, I would rather sit still. It's so much more efficient, so much more convenient. I know a lot of the face rejuvenation, they still want to be like hands-on because it's a little more delicate with that. But body stuff, no reason now to not be doing a lot more virtual. So good for you. Good for you. So as the world keeps changing and it looks like we're going towards socialized medicine, is that going to help or hurt your business, or actually which of your businesses? Because let's just talk about the business you're working on now, because I think you're filling a need in the industry.
Yeah, I think no matter what, okay, when somebody is somewhere first, they're going to protect their territory. But what's happened over the last few years is that there has been increased ability to learn things from other specialties, increased opportunities to see quality work done by all specialists. So hiding what you do behind closed doors is sort of fading away. If I want to see the world's best nose job, I can see it. If I want to see the world's best this, and that, I can see it. And for a surgeon, using the fingers, it isn't a difficult thing. It's like driving a car. Once you know how to drive, you just want to see what the new area looks like and explore it. And you may look at it and say, I don't feel comfortable exploring that area. But if you do, you have the ability now, you just Google cadaver courses, or you connect with people who are willing to let you come in and watch anywhere in the world where before that was impossible. So right now is probably the best time to be a postgraduate educating yourself in the history of the world. You just have so much access to so many resources that no one has ever had in the history of the world. And that applies to everything that involves advanced learning. The other thing about it is that socialized medicine, the more it kicks in, the less appealing it is to intelligent people, because they realize they're just working harder and harder and harder and getting less and less and less. And they're more vulnerable than they ever were before, because most of these people are employees of large medical corporations. So they have to follow rules that are made by non-physicians based solely on the economics of the system that they're in. And that's not something that people that gravitate to medicine swallow easily. They don't like it. I've never met a doctor that loves to take orders just to follow recipes. And that's a sad situation for the people that got into the biz under a different paradigm, that it just changed on them. So they're sort of allergic to that kind of environment. They don't like it. And when they look for opportunities, their best opportunities aren't real estate, aren't getting a JD, aren't getting an MBA, aren't retiring. They're transfer your skill sets within medicine to something that does feed that need to be independent, work directly on people, and it's just person to person rather than person with insurance company with doctor, and they're disconnected.
Well, I think you're doing such interesting work. I think you've done a great job niching it. The riches are in the niches, and you're doing a really good job of that. Any last comments as we wrap this up?
Yeah, well, Catherine, I can't emphasize enough that part of the skill set of the modern aesthetic practitioner is sales savvy, marketing savvy, and negotiating savvy, as well as good customer service, because all of that plays into the biz. Everybody shops with the 5-star rating, and you sort of reverse engineer that by looking at the low ratings, and patients will tell you everything not to do just by reading people's bad reviews. Some of them are crazy, but some of them are very educational. So when I see a competitor, or when I look at my own reviews, I look at the bad reviews as the ones where the gold is. So if you can sift through that stuff and find the needs that people are asking for, that's where they are. The happy ones, you're doing fine. But if you want to expand your reach and get a little bit better, get a little bit more, just explore bad reviews all over the world, and you'll find out instantly what people like and what they don't like.
100%. So, Dr. Pelosi, how can others find out more about you if they wanted to learn more?
Well, I made it easy. Go to drmarcopelosi.com, and that's a pretty good landing page for anybody that wants to reach me for any reason.
It sure is. Thank you so much for being on Beauty and the Biz. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you at the next conference. I hope we go live again someday, and I'll see you out there.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Catherine. Good luck to you, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, that wraps it up for this session. If you would, please subscribe to Beauty and the Biz so you don't miss any other episodes. And if you've got any questions or feedback for me or Dr. Pelosi, you can certainly leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com, or you can always DM me on Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon.